Hello everyone and welcome to episode 4 of the Weekend Binge with Stranger Things. Episode 4, obviously. The episode this time being The Body. The body that was discovered at the end of the previous episode. And just so you know, yes, I'm still wearing a black shirt, but I might look a little bit different right now in some semblance because I recorded this episode through the rest of the videos for this series, but those videos got corrupted because I lost that video card. So all of this is going to be me trying to recover everything that I did, and hopefully this means that this is going to be a little bit more tight and a little bit less rambly. We'll have to wait and see, but just wanted to let you all know that in case you again notice that, you know, something seems a little bit different, even though again thankfully I'm still wearing a black shirt, but this time I'm wearing a hat. Alright, so, The Body. Starting off, we get the, in episodes 2 and 3, the cold opens were rather short. Like, they were maybe a few minutes at most. But this time, just like the first episode, we get a more lengthy opening sequence. And that becomes really, for the most part, the norm in the rest of the episodes in this season. And they cover a whole lot. So when they get there, it's like it's where you know Hopper is telling Joyce about, you know, them finding the body, and Joyce she refuses to believe it. She refuses to believe that the body they found is Will because she was just talking to him. Outsider looking in, it sounds insane. And you know, Hopper obviously thinks that Joyce has gone crazy, or at the very least has sort of lost touch with reality due to the grief of losing her son. And it's like he tries to empathize with her. He tries to, you know, touch her emotionally by bringing up his daughter. It's like, you know, when she died, he would see her places. But it's just like, that just rolls off with Joyce. It's like, you know, Joyce is just like, what are you talking about? I'm not making this up. That's grief. Like, she identifies, that's grief. I'm not grieving. Will's still alive. And I loved just that whole portrayal. And we start to see Jonathan grieving. Again, Joyce isn't grieving because she legitimately does not believe that Will is actually dead. She does not believe that that body is Will's. Jonathan, on the other hand, he has no reason to not think, one, his mom is going crazy, and two, that the body they found, he has no reason to think it isn't Will's. So we see him grieving, and it's just so, it's so sad to see. We only see him for just those few moments, but he has his headphones on. He's isolating himself from the world even more than he usually does. I mean, let's face it, Jonathan is an outcast. Jonathan is someone who doesn't really fit in with most other people. So him, like, just further isolating himself is like, as someone who, you know, has depression and has felt the urge to do that at times, it's like it hurts to see that, especially in a situation like this. And one thing I did forget to mention at the, you know, end of the previous episode, I did mention that, you know, the monster starts coming out of the wall toward Joyce and she runs away. Like, she actually runs because Will told her to. But instead of, you know, just sort of cowering or, you know, just trying to figure out what's going on, she gets pissed off. It's like, okay, they think they found my son's body. I know that's not true. She goes out to the shed, grabs an axe, sits down on the couch, and waits. Just waits for the monster to come back. And, I mean, whatever you may think of Joyce as a character, she is a mama bear. I have no doubt in my mind, if she would have come face to face and, like, have to fight that monster, there is no doubt in my mind she would have destroyed it. Or at least attempted to destroy it, because, regular means don't do much against that thing, as we find out later. But Yeah, that's awesome. And one thing, this is one very minor thing. Again, they touch on a lot in just this opening sequence. Ted, Mike's dad, who, again, he falls into that stereotype of, like, the baby boomer dad is, like, really old, just doesn't show any emotion. It's like, even, when things are going on, the most he can usually muster is language. But he actually, and this is a credit to the actor who plays Ted, it's like he's struggling with what to do. He doesn't know what to do because, especially in that generation, the idea is the man fixes what's wrong. But he doesn't know what he can do to fix it. He asks Karen if there's something he can do to help. It's like he tries opening up, which is very commendable. Again, because just the early impressions that at least I got of him, he just falls into that stereotype. So, again, tiny little bits of character progression, however little, in a lot of ways can be quite a bit, especially when you put it in perspective of that character. Anyway, rambling. Mike, because of he's so upset, he feels lied to. He thinks that 11 had been lying to him, that Will had been dead the entire time. So he is just saying these horrible things to her, these hurtful things. And she's just focusing on this radio, and he keeps telling her to shut up, to stop messing with it. And he's getting more and more mad. And then all of a sudden, should I stay or should I go? And I guess I didn't, even though I'm watching this again, back when I saw it originally, both times I got chills because I didn't know what I was expecting. I didn't know if we would just hear Will breathing maybe, or something that might convince Mike, or even if it's something that wouldn't be revealed until later in the episode. But no, we hear Will singing, and it is just such a chill-inducing moment, and I absolutely love it. But that's where we get thrown into the episode as a whole. And let's begin discussing that. So, let's start off with the kids. And this is, again, a lot of... I really like Mike's mom. She is, for the most part, clueless. Like, she doesn't know what's going on, just like basically every adult, or the majority of everyone in the town. She has no idea what's going on. She, as much as she cares and is trying to help, is in over her head. But she does want to help. She knows Mike is upset. She knows he's not really sick. But she offers, it's like, okay, after we do this, like, if you come with me, we can stop by the video store and, get whatever you want, even something R-rated, which, again, for, like, middle schoolers, at least back then, when we didn't have access to every movie in the world over the internet through various means, that is just something any kid would love to hear. It's just like, a rated R movie? I'm not allowed to see those. Holy crap, yeah. So, again, it's just a huge commendation for Karen. She, while very much a side character, possibly even somewhat of a background character, she's well written, and you can tell that she does care about her kids. She wants to try. It's like where Ted is often very lacking in emotional support, or really seeming like he doesn't really care, Karen does, and Karen cares. Let's just leave it at that. But yeah, so Mike gathers the boys, and I mean, he's doing his best to convince them that yes, Will is still alive. Lucas is extremely doubtful, I mean, for obvious reasons. Also, that's just kind of his character. And Dustin is hopeful, and that's one of the things I love about him, is like, he's usually just kind of like, yeah, that's stupid. He's somewhat the realist, an optimistic realist, shall we say. Yeah, I think that might be a good way to describe Dustin. But 11 is not able to make contact. It's like, they apparently off camera heard something, but, even Lucas says, it's like, we don't know what that was. It sounded like a baby. So yeah, so they decide to use the radio that their teacher, Dr. Clark, lets them use, because 11 may be able to reach Will that way. And in order to get to the school and get her to the school, it's like, she, not to use any of the words that not Dustin, but Lucas uses about her, she sticks out like a sore thumb, at least among the rest of the kids. Like, she would look weird and she would stand out. So they give her a makeover, and oh my god, it's adorable. It's the girl who plays 11, she is an adorable little thing as she is, and even with the short hair, it's like, she's still cute as a button. But they just dress her up and they give her this little blonde wig, and again, it's just so cute and adorable. And even it's it's a simple word. When 11 is looking in the mirror at herself, she says, "Pretty." And Mike's just kind of like, yeah, pretty. But then they get to the school, and obviously they're not able to get to the radio because of the conference, not the conference, but basically the thing going on where everyone is mourning about Will. And then we see the bullies, and 11 identifies the mouth breathers. Like, it's not hard for her to tell. She doesn't have to use her powers to realize mouth breathers. And I love the moment where Mike, like, he's pissed. Mike is pissed at Troy and them and the other guy for, laughing and making fun of their friend who may be dead. They know that he's not, or they believe that he's not, but despite that, these guys still just making fun of him, making fun of their, as far as they know, dead friend. So he gives him a push. That's a huge step for Mike, because, up until that point, all the kids are pretty much terrified to do anything around Troy. It's like they just stand there and take whatever is thrown their way. And Troy is getting ready to lay into Mike, and admittedly, I think Mike probably would have had to take that punch like a champ, but 11 takes control, and she makes Troy pee himself. And I didn't feel it so much this time, but I remember the first time I watched it thinking of the kids who bullied me when I was younger, and just imagining them in that spot, imagining them just being frozen in place after they've been doing anything to me. It's like, there's some of them, because kids are kids and kids are the worst at times. It's like, they got physical. But just that idea that at least one of those kids were just like, just frozen in place, and all of a sudden they just piss themselves and they're embarrassed in front of everyone, and it's just an amazing moment. An amazing moment. But moving on from there, they are able to get to the radio, and they make contact with Will. And the boys are just blown away. They're just like, oh my god, it's Will. And then it unfortunately catches on fire, because I guess 11 overloaded it. So yeah, that doesn't go too well. But yeah, it was like, that whole segment involving the kids is great, and that brings us to more of a focus on Jonathan and his mom, Joyce. Although Joyce is definitely like the bigger part of this. So Jonathan, for understandable reasons, especially after how she was acting in the cold open, he is worried about her and thinks that she is just legitimately going crazy. Like, just actually completely going crazy. They go to the morgue to identify the body, and it's like Jonathan is torn up about it, and Joyce she continues to refuse to believe it's him. She like she storms out of the morgue and like refuses to sign the papers because she said, that is not my son. That thing, whatever it is not my son. And again, Jonathan, understandably so, thinking his mom is going crazy. Like they have a confrontation out in public, which, you know, the family is unfortunately already a bit stigmatized even before the events that take place in this season. But like it's very public to say the least. And he tells Joyce that he thinks she is going crazy, that there is something wrong with her, that she needs to get help. But Joyce, again, she insists, she persists. I'm not crazy, Will is alive, and it just kind of goes from there. So Joyce goes off to do what she's going to do, and then Jonathan, being the responsible adult, even though he's still in high school at this point, it goes to the funeral home to find a casket for Will. And the only thing that comes to mind in that entire scene is that, oh my god, caskets are a friggin' racket, man. It's like you're buying a box of whatever material, be it wood, high quality, beautiful material, or, you know, metal of some sort, you know, whatever is affordable. And they cost thousands of dollars. They cost thousands of dollars. I'm going way outside of the scope of the show right now, but oh my god, just today, yesterday, and in the future, the whole buying a casket, this box that someone's going to be put in the ground in, is a complete racket and is over expensive. Rant over. Okay. So, while at the funeral home, Nancy shows up. And, well, you know, we'll come back to that here in just a minute. First, I want to focus on Joyce because, you know, what happens with her, it's rather important. So, Joyce tries to communicate with Will again because she, again, refuses to believe that that body that was there was him. And he is heard. She establishes communication. And there actually opens up the wall itself doesn't completely open up, but part of the wallpaper peels away to this semi-transparent wall, and she's actually able to talk with Will for a minute, but they hear the monster coming, and she does exactly what Will told her to do at the end of the previous episode. It's coming. Run. Because she wants him to be safe at all costs. At all costs. And then the wall closes up, even after she hears the monster screeching, and she goes and gets that axe and tears a hole in the wall. And it's at that point that Joyce, it seems like she kind of starts to break a little bit. Because even though she knows what she saw, like after she tears a hole in the wall with that axe, and she sees the outside, there's this look of disbelief on her face. And it's like, but no, it was there. And it's this really good portrayal of the fact that while she knows that Will is still there, and that he was on the other side of that wall, she doesn't fully comprehend even the idea really of it possibly being an alternate dimension. Because why would she? Why would she? It's just like, you know, as far as she knows, Will has been in the house. He's been sort of a ghostly figure. And maybe there was actually something on the other side of that wall. But now it's not. So what is she to think? What can she think? And that really leads us into what happens with her in the next episode. But the last moment with her in the episode is Lonnie appears. Good old dad. More on him in the next episode. Anyway, getting back to other characters, let's cover Nancy up to the point where she actually finds Jonathan at the funeral home. So, it's been brought up that Barb is missing, and Nancy has told the cops that, she went back to that house to look for her and found something, and Steve is upset. Steve is rather upset with her because he's a selfish prick. Because while she was just trying to do what she could to find her best friend, he's worried that they're going to find that, like, the cops are going to find out about them drinking, and he's going to get in trouble with his parents, because all that matters is him, because he's Steve. And I hate Steve. I absolutely hate him. What I will say about him in later episodes may surprise you, but I remain consistent here. I hate Steve. There is so much I dislike about him in so many of these episodes. But Nancy is interviewed by the deputies, and as usual, they actually are kind of semi-competent this time, or at least it seems so. But it's brought up that Barb's car is suddenly missing, so they think that Barb actually did come back and took her car and left. So, it raises this really weird question. It's just like, even for me, it's like, why is her car missing? That's weird. Because I hadn't put together, it's like, it might actually be the people at the lab yet, but regardless. So, in that interview, it basically kind of comes out that, yes, Nancy had lied to Karen about what was going on at the party, and there's just the confrontation that occurs there. And next, Nancy sees something in the picture of Barb that Jonathan had taken that she hadn't noticed before. So she asks Jonathan about it at the funeral home, and it's at this point that you get another just chilling moment where Nancy is saying, it's like, you won't believe, basically it's like, it's almost like it didn't have a face, but Jonathan says didn't have a face at the same time, because that's exactly how his mom had described the creature that had been chasing her, that it didn't have a face. Like, it looked like a person, but it didn't have a face. So it's at that moment, it's just kind of like, it's like, some of the strings are starting to come together. It's like, the tapestry is starting to be formed, and, the story is starting to merge together. The characters are coming together. I got way too excited there. I apologize. But it's then that we get a shot of them in the dark room. And this is really the last time we see them. But they're working on developing the picture, and they see the close-up of the monster. It's like something was there, and it was behind Barbara. It was there. So this thing is real for them now. It's like, it's completely real. They have evidence, essentially. Not evidence that anyone else will believe, but evidence all the same. And before I get into the big man, Hopper himself, just one thing to say about the lab. We do get a shot of the lab doing a trial run of this guy Shepard going into the hole. And, poor guy. It does not go well for him. He dead and bloody. So, yeah, it's like, when we do get these little flashes of people at the lab, it's interesting. I don't always feel like it's really necessary, because it's like we could have gone that entire time without really seeing what was going on. And even, I want to say on the second episode, or it may have been the previous episode, we see them installing, like, the winch for the cable that sort of keeps Shepard connected to the outside of the gate. But that's really all we see. And then it's like there's no mention of it until this episode. So I feel like that bit of it's a little bit disjointed. But anyway, I don't want to talk about that anymore. Let's talk about the big man Hopper. And immediately with Hopper, it's like, he notices that something's up. It's like he knows that the people at the lab were lying to him in the previous episode when it came to the cameras, and it's like, they didn't know anything that's going on. So he knows that they're lying. And he, like, his eyebrows raise when he hears, like, oh yeah, it's a guy from State came to, do the autopsy. So they sent the regular guy off. And it's just kind of like, why is State involved with this? And it's like, he starts digging deeper into the rabbit hole, shall we say, until he finds out about the guy who found the body. And he finds out that, he finds him at this bar. And Hopper is just, talking him up, talking about his daughter. It's like he's celebrating she just won a spelling bee. And it starts to get awkward, shall we say. Not so much because... at first it kind of seems like Hopper just doesn't know what to say, or he's losing concentration. Which may be a little bit of it because he was talking about his daughter. But it's clear that something is up with the guy. And it's like... and Hopper starts telling him, what he knows. And it's rather interesting that you just happen to be there. And, the guy doesn't want to tell him anything. He's just like, screw you, in, not so nice of words. So Hopper decides to beat the information out of him. And holy crap, does he. He gets as much information as he can, up until the point where Hopper notices the car behind them. And the guy says, you're going to get both of us killed. And it's at that point, it's like, Hopper realizes, oh my god, he is really getting deeper and deeper into a crazy conspiracy. And, like, the guy runs off, which... I will say this, I don't think we ever hear anything else about this guy, especially if he was supposedly paid off by the people with the lab or the government or whatever it is. We never see what happens to him. Like, he just kind of runs off, and maybe the people thought that, okay, he's fine. From my perspective, it would have seemed like he was compromised, so... I don't know, if I was a bad guy, maybe that meant that he needed to be taken care of. And maybe he was off camera. No idea, because we're never given any explanation. But because Hopper knows there's a big conspiracy, he goes down to the morgue. And lets the guard know. Like, he tries to smooth talk his way past the guard. Not happening, so he just knocks him right out. And it's hilarious because Hopper's just like, bam. But he gets into the autopsy room and he cuts open the body. And not only is it fake, not only is it not really Will, it's literally it's stuffed with cotton. It is a stuffed fake body. And, it's clear to Hop. It's just kind of like, what the hell is going on at this point? I gotta try and censor myself somewhat. But, and then finally we get the last shot, or at least it's the last shot of the episode. And it's when Hopper pulls up to the lab, or one of the gates for the lab. Just a fence, really. It's not even a gate. He just finds part of the fence, and the last shot we get is him taking the wire cutters and BAM! Fade to black. Not even fade to black, just cut to black. And, I love Hopper so much. I love that man. He is hilarious. He's kind of dopey at times. He's a super empathetic character. He cares, again, despite the fact that he seemed whatever in the first episode. It's like, he legitimately cares, and I love him as a character. So, yeah, there's so much more to talk about him in the episodes coming up. But that's really all I have to say. It's just, this episode was, like the others, just, it's such good storytelling. In my opinion, it's good storytelling. Certain aspects that, they're left with us just wondering, okay, what's going to happen next, but like all of the story elements are flowing along. And again, with Jonathan and Nancy, we see some of the storylines starting to merge, because Nancy and Jonathan are together in on it now. They know what's going on. And so the question is, whose storyline will be crossing over next? And I guess we might find out in the next episode, which I'll be covering immediately after recording this. So everyone, please let me know your thoughts on this episode in the comments down below. Let me know your favorite parts, some of your annoyances, whether you disagree with me or not. I'm legitimately curious, as always. So, until the next one, everybody, if you would like to see my overall thoughts, just skip past any more spoilers, you can click here to check out my overall final thoughts on this season, or you can click here to go to the next episode. Or if you're watching this on the playlist, you'll be going there about now.